This backfield, I have no freaking idea how it's going to unfold. And that's the Philadelphia Eagles backfield. You got DeAndre Swift, you got Rashad Penny, you got Kenneth Gainwell getting a lot of hype over the last month. How are you reading this backfield? Number one, have you been targeting anyone in this backfield? And then number two, how are you just reading this, and how do you think it's going to be split?
Gainwell is my sixth highest drafted running back. Like, he's always been the guy, and it definitely slowed down a little bit as he got pushed up like to round, 11 or 12 there by the end of it. But being able to get him in those final few rounds of drafts was a treat there in June and July. All these June, July drafts, I love bringing up the good things that happen, not the Tim Patrick 20% exposure I have, just wasting away now every time I look at it. But to me, just again, the thing that got me, and it's not necessarily looking that way, but we're not getting that many views. Like, I always thought Rashad Penny would just be the best 1-for-1 replacement for Miles Sanders. Because if Swift isn't getting that early down work, man, like, what are we doing? And just the assumption, everyone's saying, oh, they're in the Eagles offense. Like, look how great of an offense this is for running backs. Like, not really, man. They're incredible in real life, obviously. But as we know, fantasy football is different than real life. They're ranked 27th in PPR points per game expected for their running backs last year. We see this in Buffalo. We see this in Baltimore. We've seen it in Seattle to varying degrees. When you got these dual threat quarterbacks, I know you did a really good study on this in the summer. Like, guess what? The quarterbacks, they scramble instead of checking down. And then once you get inside the 5-yard line, especially with Jalen Hurts literally leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns, if you include playoffs over the past 2 years, like, Detroit is a more fantasy-friendly RB offense than Philly because Jared Goff is checking the ball down at the first sign of pressure. And no, he's not taking off inside the 5-yard line like a Jalen Hurts. So again, I know it's kind of weird in our heads to think about a team like the Eagles being like a bottom 10 offense in terms of their RB usage, but that's what we see, man. And then when you add actually just the not knowing who's exactly going to be having the roles and having three parties involved, there's not quite as many outs I think people think with these guys. So yes, DeAndre Swift, I've seen the underlying usage and the missed tackles force numbers and all that, but I will say too, like, he did get to face, boxes that didn't have A+ defenders in them at the highest rate of like any qualified running back last year. And as much as I like to think that like you and me, JJ, know a decent amount about this game, we can't all be in love with the Lions offense and what they're doing over there. And then out the other side of our mouth be like, yeah, but they were just wrong on DeAndre Swift and all this. Yeah. So like, what'd they trade? Like a 2025, like 4th or 5th round pick. Like,
it was bad. It's not a lot. Yeah.
It wasn't a lot. So as much as we can talk about Rashad Penny's like not getting, $600K guaranteed or something, like Kenneth Gainwell played ahead of Miles Sanders in the Super Bowl, man. So yeah, maybe that matters a little bit more than the 2025 5th round pick that Nick Sirianni didn't even know he has. So I have drafted some of Swift, especially more in August when he kind of got down to that RB3 range. But man, when he was just getting that bona fide like top 20 treatment early on, would not touch that with a 10-foot pole. So I'm in wait and see mode. I'm advising anyone that does have, a Swift or a Gainwell or a Penny, if it's at all a close start sit question, give him the other guy for now, because again, the most likely answer might just be Jalen Hurts and these wide receivers and Dallas Goedert, because if we're splitting this baby up 3, God forbid, even 4 ways, maybe against the Giants, we'll get Boston Scott more involved there. If that's what we're doing here, again, already less meat on the overall backfield bone than I think people give it credit for. Really, really need this to be condensed to 1, maybe 2 running backs with a dual threat quarterback like Hurts.
Yeah, that's my take too. I've had the most exposure to Kenneth Gainwell. I've had some randomly to Penny, randomly to Swift. Yeah. I've been on record saying that I liked Penny's this is back in early August, that I liked Penny's ADP more than Swift's ADP. But as I started drafting, I noticed that there were some drafts, like individual drafts, where Swift would drop. Like Swift would fall enough where I'm like, sure, why not? I'll take this chance and see what happens. But I do think you nailed it with the storyline that's sort of like undocumented, just not talked about enough with DeAndre Swift, is no one's asking the question, why did the Lions replace DeAndre Swift with a better version of DeAndre Swift? Why did they give him up for peanuts and go out and get Jahmyr Gibbs with a first round, 12th overall pick? I think you at least have to ask that question too. It's no different than when a team gets rid of a really good player, like when the Lions got rid of Kenny Golladay, and everyone's like, well, Kenny Golladay is such a good extra. Well, maybe they knew what they were doing right there.
Are we getting some Dalton Schultz slander, JJ? I'm here for it if we are. $6 million, and the Cowboys said no, but now he's going to lead the Texans in targets. Miss me with that shit.